Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. We are continuing with day 27 of RPG A Day 2025. And with me here, as usual, is Stream Rolla. How are you doing today?
Hello,
Would you
I'm
like to
doing good.
introduce today's prompt?
I don't know if I'm tactically able to do that.
I think you are.
That's fine.
Tactics. Tactics.
Tactic.
Very important, not often used. I don't know. That's being mean. I think I would say groups in general, groups that are successful use tactics pretty well and don't just zerg into a situation, are very situationally aware. Um, I don't know. People play for different reasons. There's no wrong reason for playing, but I would say there could be, and from my point of view, there's frustrating ways to play. But
Yeah.
I prefer, and I don't always do this either as a player, but I do prefer when players are more tactically sound and tactically minded. It's more interesting to me because then with the NPCs, I have to do the same or react to that in an unbiased way, especially like in a surprise situation or whatever, you know,
Right. Well,
or
I mean,
or if
personally,
go ahead.
I prefer using tactics than just running in. First of all, I don't particularly like to die. But
Yeah,
secondly, if you really actually study the game or pay attention to, the inferences, there's always a way to avoid a fight and still win.
yeah,
Like in Twilight 2000, we used to have our war room meetings
hmm
and tape those. And we would go through everything and we would talk about this is where the enemy is, here's where we should come from, and here's what tanks we should use, what guns we should use, what bullets, what we should have overhead. Here's how we can utilize water or terrain to our advantage. And basically, kind of like the Romans did, where they would catch you, where you
hmm
can't really escape.
right.
And then you level the playing field that way. But I think if you're playing correctly and you're paying attention, tactics should be used in every game.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Twilight 2000 is a very good example of it. It's a kind of in a way, a war game. Takes place in a fictional Third World War, Cold War era World War if it went hot. Um, the classically and with the new system, they both you can start in Poland um, during the in the battlefields of Poland there in year 2000, and then you go from there. And definitely, I try to provide a lot of maps, and I know you help with that too, to give maps for people to use and riff from when they were planning their battles. And then it was usually again not like a straight up assault. It was like night assaults. It was early morning assaults. It was overwhelming firepower, right? It was using your tactics, and then building out to when you slowly started cutting off the supply line and the allies of the Baron and strategically closing in on him, right?
Hmm.
And then the overwhelming force used in that last engagement,
Well, yeah. I mean, you almost had to there, or you won't survive it.
right?
And I would say tactics come into play in a lot of the games, like Walking Dead. You really had to pay attention to where you were, use tactics, get up, make sure that you had everything in hand before you went running outside.
Right,
Um, And if you didn't, that you knew exactly where you could hide or you could get up or get away,
right.
something that nature.
Yeah, it runs
And then,
part and parcel with being spatially aware or aware of your surroundings. I mean, you could play it silly, but that's not usually fun for most
mm,
people who. So if you're at a table and someone's playing it silly and someone's playing it serious, it usually doesn't make for a very harmonious table, I would say.
correct. And then same thing in One Ring. You have to really plan out what you're doing because there
Yeah,
you have enough energy to do certain things, or you only made enough rolls that were successful to get to certain point.
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation where you get attacked by multiple foes because really in one ring you're generally fragile in one ring, right? You have
Correct.
you can take two wounds as
And
a
be
player character, and then your character's done, you know,
done.
off to the
But
dying lands.
right, not just that, but like AD&D, we're pretty squishy in AD&D, so you really have to play tactically there,
Yeah.
and utilize the strengths that your group has.
Yeah,
So you
utilize terrain and fields of fire. Really, you guys were great at that in that assault on the mines. I think it really highlighted the your use of bowmanship and then cleaning up with the tanks and the couple tanks you have in the group too, you know. So um
right, not physical tanks.
not physical
No,
tanks, but yeah, two fighter types that are heavily armored, right, with the boat support, which is really great, and then healing support at the back, and then you know, so it works really well. And then doing it smart and having I know like in my current 10th level, wow, which is crazy to say, Pathfinder game, um yeah, they're realizing like that's a whole nother discussion how long Pathfinder battles take, especially at high levels. But Pathfinder 2, that is. But then they're like, okay, we used a lot of resources, we gotta fall back. We can't just
mhm.
keep pushing, right? So, you know, it's pretty interesting in how that works and a tactically minded group. And I've seen it where one again person in the group says, no, we need to fall back, we're low on resources. Another person in the group, I'm sorry, I lost that in my throat. Another person in the group says, no, we're going to kick down one more door, and that did not lead to a very fun gaming session. Let's just say there was
Right,
arguments at the table.
but that I think is part and parcel of how well do you play in the group.
Hmm.
Is group tactically minded, or is there the one person that always has to run into the dungeon and fight everything?
Right, that's true. Yeah, or that's the way I'm playing my character, guy. You know, I think you got to be most
Play
groups.
right.
Most groups want to be tactical to the best of their ability. You know,
Mhm.
I think they
I
do.
would say in a lot of the groups I play in, we'll get together on a different platform and plan it out and talk about, okay, what if this happens? What if that happens? So you have your plan and then your backup plan. It's like my uncle always said, you need to plan three different ways because there's always a fourth you won't think of.
Right. Yeah. Um, that's
Mhm.
true. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I've enjoyed, like I said, I'm, I have been accused of being a fan of the players, but it's a player's story, and it's fun to see you guys realize the danger of the situation. So that means I communicate it well and then how to adjust to the danger of that situation in order to succeed or sometimes run away. A tactical retreat is not a bad option,
Or get turned into a snake.
right? That was pretty
That,
funny.
that was pretty funny. And then the snake won the day.
That's right. The
That's
tactics of using a snake.
of being a snake.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks so much, Streamroller. That's pretty cool um, discussion here on tactics. Though short, of course, we could talk for a long time on it, I am sure. And maybe it could blow into or turn into its own episode, much larger. Yes, tactics or no tactics, doesn't matter.
I
Anyway,
think it doesn't matter. I think if you're going to be successful in the game,
yeah,
matters.
I would say even I know some friends who are beer and pretzels type of players and aren't not doing, they're the ones who, there are some players who, and I appreciate this because it helps the GM make the spreadsheets, maintain the spreadsheets, for games, let's say like Traveler or Twilight 2000 or even D&D, right? You
Really does.
maintain the accounting or the books in D&D. And some players who just show up, but some of the players who just show up, I know, at least the ones that I play with, they're still give thought to the encounter, the attack encounter, the social encounter, and and while they're there to enjoy the social aspect of it, they'll still take it, with a tactical mind. So I think
Hmm.
that's a positive thing. All right.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Any,
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Rolling.